All right. Velina nui me ke aloha yaka koa pau. Aloha, everyone. Welcome to today's May 4th, 2025 budget workshop of the Honolulu Board of Water Supply. Before beginning today's meeting, I'd like to state that our board is dedicated to providing safe, dependable, and affordable water now and into the future. At this time, we'd like to share a brief recording with reminders on public participation, as well as virtual meeting regulations for board members as required by law.
Materials for this meeting under HRS Section 92-7.5 are accessible at boardofwatersupply.com/board meetings. The public may attend this meeting in person at the BWS Public Service Building, located at 630 South Beretania Street. The public may also view a live stream of today's meeting on our website at boardofwatersupply.com/live. We have been accepting written or oral testimony for today's meeting. Instructions and an online submittal form are available at boardofwatersupply.com/testimony. The deadline to submit advanced written testimony has passed. Testimony received by noon today have been distributed to the board members. We will continue to accept written testimony today through our online form. Oral testimony in person or remotely will be accepted during today's meeting. To facilitate as much in-person and remote testimony as reasonably possible during the time allotted, pre-registration and submittal of a written version of testimony at boardofwatersupply.com/testimony is strongly encouraged. To testify in person, please register using our online form or come to the Public Service Building at 630 South Beretania Street. We have a representative in the lobby to provide intake and further instructions. To request to testify remotely, please complete the online form at boardofwatersupply.com/testimony. Requesters will receive an email containing links and instructions to join the Zoom session. Testifiers will have 2 minutes to state their position. A timekeeper will alert testifiers when there is 1 minute remaining. Once the 2 minutes are up, please summarize to allow time for questions from the board. Then, make room for the next testifier. Board members attending any board meeting remotely must be visible to the public to be considered present and meet quorum guidelines. Board members participating remotely must also disclose their location and anyone present at their location during roll call. Meeting participants who are calling or video conferencing in, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. If you have a question, comment, or wish to enter or second a motion on an action item, please unmute your microphone and identify yourself before continuing to speak. If you encounter technical issues during today's meeting, please use the Zoom chat to send a direct message to our support team. Their names are listed in the message to all participants. To open the chat window, please click on the text bubble icon on the Zoom toolbar.
Let's take a moment to take roll call of the board members. When I call your name, please say aye, and if attending remotely, make the appropriate disclosures. Board member Jean Albano.
I am in my office alone.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to state that I am in my room alone as well. In the boardroom with us today, we have Vice Chair John Kanashiro.
There, he's actually absent.
Oh, I apologize. Please note for the record if he makes his way in either on Zoom or in person. I'll make an adjustment to the notes. Thank you. Board member Jeffrey Laupola.
Aye.
Aloha. Board member Darian Chun.
Aye.
Aloha, Darian. Absent and excused right now are board members Lance Wilhelm and board member Edwin Sniffen, and at current Jonathan Kanashiro. As Jonathan makes his way in, please note for the record the time that he emerges. Also in the room today, Manager Ernie Lau.
Aloha.
Aloha, Ernie. Deputy Manager Erwin Kawata.
Not present.
Okay, Erwin is excused. Board Secretary Joy Cruz Achu.
Here.
Aloha, Joy. Manager Secretary Kim Guai.
Here.
Information Specialist Wayne Maria.
Here.
Aloha. And also, please note Jeff Lau and Jessica Wong, both from City and County Corp Council, are joining us by Zoom. Today, we just have one item for information. This is the workshop meeting on the proposed fiscal year 2026 to 2027 operating and capital improvement program budget. Chair recognizes Megan Muramatsu and Jennifer Fowler. Aloha, folks. Thanks for making time today.
Good afternoon, Chair Naalehu and members. Thank you for holding this fiscal year 2027 budget workshop. I'm Megan Marmatsu from the Executive Support Office, and this is Jennifer Fowler from our Capital Projects Division. We will first review a summary of the entire budget, then details of the operating budget, and end with Jennifer's presentation of the CIP. Presented here are the fiscal 2023 to 2027 operating and CIP budgets. The operating budget has consistently grown over this period. The fiscal year 2027 budget totals $311.6 million, which is a 10% increase over fiscal year 26. The increase is primarily due to material supplies and services, fixed charges, and CIP driven by factors such as tariffs, instability in the Middle East, supply chain disruptions, and the March 2026 Kona low storm recovery efforts. The CIP budget has increased over this period as we continually work on repairing, replacing, and investing in our existing infrastructure. However, in 2027, CIP totals $266.8 million, which is a slight 5.8% decrease from fiscal year 26. The slight decrease reflects a focus on executing and finishing existing projects. Jennifer will discuss CIP later in the presentation. The proposed operating budget is based on total operating fund resources of $490.6 million. Operating fund resources are made up of the beginning fund balance, plus revenues and prior lapses and adjustments. The BWS has been working diligently to maintain a safe and reliable water service. We are working on maintaining a carryover balance in line with the board's priorities to ensure we have sufficient funds to execute our mission. Carryover is the unbudgeted and unreserved cash amount remaining at the end of each fiscal year. Thankfully, with the board's support, we were able to adopt rate increases in November 2023, which became effective in February 2024. While these rate increases were much needed, as the board may recall, to avoid rate shock, we deliberately limited them to no more than 10% in each fiscal year, understanding that this would mean a gradual rebuilding of our fund balance, which was diminished post-COVID because rates were not raised and increased costs compounded by supply chain delays related to the pandemic. The rate increase to be implemented at the start of fiscal year 27 is 8.5%. The fiscal 27 budget reflects the increases in expenses we have all faced and a strategic use of the operating fund at a time when borrowing is more expensive. The result is a projected fund balance or carryover into the future of $58 million. This slide illustrates our total resources versus our total expenditures, with resources being the column on the left made up of blue, which are revenues, green, which are the fund balance, and orange, which are lapses and adjustments from prior years. Expenditures for the year are represented in purple on the right. Fiscal year 2024 and 25 are represented as actuals, while 2026 and 27 are the budgeted amounts. We will continue putting the operating fund balance to work to ensure continued operations and investment into our water system. The debt service coverage ratio target set by the board is 1.6. The fiscal year 2025 debt service coverage ratio for senior debt is 4.45, and the all-in debt service coverage ratio is 3.19. The board's net working capital target is between 180 and 60 days. The net working capital in fiscal year 2025 was 254 days. As illustrated by the use of the operating fund in 2027, we are drawing down our fund balance to meet the board's net working capital target. The debt service coverage ratio measures cash flow available to pay current debt obligations. It's a key measure of a company's ability to repay loans and take on new financing. It's calculated by net operating income divided by debt service. Net operating income is revenues less operating expenses, and debt service, on the other hand, is the total of all existing debts owed by the company due in the same period. This includes all interest and principal. The indenture requirement or the commitment to our bondholders for our debt service coverage ratio is 1.2, and as mentioned earlier, the board's target debt service coverage ratio is 1.6. So the board's bond rating has historically been high, and we received a AAA stable rating. This affords us more favorable borrowing rates when we sell bonds. Although the board did not issue bonds in 2026 or 2025, S&P affirmed the AAA bond rating in December 2025, and Fitch reconfirmed the AAA bond rating with a review on March 5th, 2026. Only about 2% of municipalities in the US hold a AAA rating, and most government agencies in the state of Hawaii have lower ratings. The BWS's high bond rating is a credit to this board's fiscal prudence and planning. The total operating fund budget in fiscal year 2027 is $432.6 million. This is made up of $121 million in operating funds used for the capital improvement program, $119 million for materials, supplies, and services, $82.1 million for fixed charges, $61.9 million for personal services, $43.3 million for debt service, and $4.4 million for equipment. This slide presents the actual operating fund expenditures from fiscal 2023 to 2025 and budgeted operating fund expenditures for fiscal year 2026 to 2027. A major driver of operating fund increases in fiscal year 2027 is operating funded CIP, reflecting a $21 million increase. As we continue to grow the CIP, we will continue the mix of financing between bond and operating funds. As current interest rates to borrow are higher than in prior years, the board has made a conscious decision to utilize operating funds and alternative financing like SRF or WIFIA to continue the necessary growth of CIP while balancing costs to our ratepayers. We also actively seek grant funding opportunities as they become available. An increase of about $22 million in materials, supplies, and services also contributed to the increase in overall operating expenditures, and we will review all of these cost categories in more detail now. There is no net increase in the FTE or full-time equivalent count of the department above the board's authorized 741 FTE. There is a slight decrease in salaries of $48,000, sorry. This reflects salary increases mandated by collective bargaining and a focus on only funding positions that are actively being recruited. We are evaluating organizational and technological changes to increase and optimize operational capacity. We have initiated changes in recruitment and advertisement of our vacant positions by leveraging memberships in professional organizations like AWWA and AMWA. We have been working with a marketing consultant to develop a more robust advertising plan for positions, and we are working with the Department of Human Resources to expedite the hiring of licensed engineers. Mayor Blangiardi's goal to fill as many positions as quickly as possible is being supported by the board to try to align our hiring goals with the city. As was reported to the board in December 2025, approximately 36.7% of our workforce will become eligible for retirement within the next 10 years. We understand the seriousness of this number compounded into our existing vacancies. To reach a wider audience with our recruitments, the board continues to invest time and resources into reaching potential candidates. We continue to engage college students with internship opportunities and leveraging all modes of media to promote our recruitments. We're constantly in pursuit of people who are in search of a fulfilling career, providing one of the most critical and essential needs to our community. Highlighted in the graphics here is our summer watership program and participants from 2024. The program aims to engage college students by introducing them to a career at Board of Water. We hope to convert more participants in this program to full-time Board of Water supply employees. While inflation and economic instability have increased our required spending in MS&S or materials, supplies, services, and supplies, the largest increase in this cost category is in professional services. Increases in this category are related to regulatory compliance with laws like lead and copper and NPDES or the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System laws. Response to Red Hill and water treatment like GAC or granular activated carbon also contribute to increases in this category. The fiscal 27 equipment budget is reflective of our current plan to purchase and replace fleet vehicles according to our replacement schedule and only as needed. Debt service saw a slight increase in fiscal 2027 due to an increase in notes payable and state revolving funds and bonds payable. In 2024, during a last bond issuance and evaluation by rating agencies, the Board of Water received a AAA rating from Fitch and S&P Global Ratings with a stable outlook for both. Fiscal year 26 was the 6th year Board of Water received the AAA rating from S&P, and the 4th year we received it from Fitch. The Board of Water's AAA rating remains one of the only ratings of its kind within the state for a true municipal style credit. The state's highway bonds were just upgraded to AAA by S&P this month, so congrats to Ed.
On to Ed Sniffen.
For reference, a AAA borrower pays about 20 basis points less than a AA borrower on a $50 million loan. This equates to about $100,000 in annual interest savings. Fixed charges also increased by $6.7 million or 8.9% due primarily to electricity. So this this is our revenue highlights, and total revenues are projected to increase by 22.6 million due to a rate increase of 8.5% effective July 1st, 2026, and details are on the next slide. This chart shows the budget versus actual 2024 and 2025 revenues and the fiscal year 2026 and 27 budgeted revenues. Revenues of the Board of Water are almost entirely generated from the metered sales of potable, non-potable, and recycled water. Metered sales are greatly affected by use and weather. In the recent past, we've experienced La Nina or ENSO neutral cycles. So ENSO means El Nino Southern Oscillation. But in in 2026 calendar year, we're predicted by the National Weather Service to be in an El Nino year, which normally brings drought, flash floods, and severe storms like hurricanes to the islands. We may see increased water usage during drought periods. And the forecasted revenues for 2027 are based on historical patterns and the rate increase on July 1st, 2026 of 8.5%. Metered revenue of potable and non-potable water is up by 20 million with the anticipated rate increase, and the interest income is up about 3 million. This summary compares revenues and expenditures in fiscal year 26 and 27. While operating fund revenues are projected to increase by 6.8%, operating fund expenses are projected to increase by about 10. Now Jennifer will present on the fiscal year 27 CIP budget.
Thank you, Megan, and good afternoon, Chair Alehu and board members. I'm Jennifer Faylor, as was mentioned, Program Administrator for Capital Projects Division. The Capital Improvement Program, or CIP, ensures that the Board of Water Supply will be able to achieve its vision and mission, Water for Life, and mission, safe, defendable, and affordable water now and into the future. The program includes projects from various divisions, including the Capital Projects Division. The Capital Improvement Program not only supports the Board of Water Supply vision and mission, but it's also aligned with our goals and objectives, both the master and strategic plans and the 6-year Capital Improvement Program. They all fit together like a puzzle to prevent the complete view of our present and where we're headed in the future. This slide depicts the delicate balance that we strive for between the needs of the system in providing that safe, reliable water service with the cost-effective management of our assets and utilizing the funding. Our budget is broken down into these 3 main categories: Capital Improvement Program budget, the Research and Development category, Renewal Replacement, and Replacement and Capacity Expansion is the final category. And I'll highlight projects in each of these categories as we move forward. But first, looking how they're spread out around the island, you can see the locations of all of our FY27 budget request projects. The red dots are projects heading into design, and blue are construction. And in total, there are about 11 design projects and 31 construction projects in our FY27 proposed program. And breaking them down into those categories, for category 1, research and development, we've budgeted almost $25 million. And some example projects include several monitoring and exploratory wells that are being installed to protect our drinking water supplies from any impacts from the Red Hill fuel storage facility spills. And this is where we budget for our needed construction and program project management support. For examples, they're in category 1. Then category 2, there are quite a few different projects in category 2. The renewal and replacement of various facilities, almost 185 million. Some example projects include construction of a new project at Makaha Wells and Waianae Wells 3 to install permanent generators to keep those stations operating. If we should lose HECO power, such as during their red flag public safety power shutoff events, or as we recently experienced the Kona Low storms. We've applied for FEMA hazard mitigation grant project funds for these projects and are waiting for FEMA to review our application. And if it is awarded, we'll receive up to 75% in federal funding for those as reimbursement. We also plan to construct numerous water mains along with the water system improvement project at Lower Mariners Ridge, which involves replacement of water mains, hydrant service laterals. In FY27, planning for a new granular activated carbon treatment facility at Wanalua and Ka'amilo wells. And the 2 pictures on the slide, the one on the bottom is a typical granular activated carbon units that we would install. On the top is a new permanent generator, at Kahuku well site. The equipment similar to what would be installed at the Makaha and Waianae wells. And the last category, capacity expansion, just over 14 million. Of that, 12 is the Kala'eloa desalination facility, which is set to begin construction this calendar year, but also the 27 fiscal year. There are then two design projects, Honolulu District 42-inch and the Kalakaua Avenue 16-inch projects. Those will be replacing the 1945 or World War II era cast iron pipelines in populated areas of town. The photo on this slide is showing the location of the Kala'eloa desal facility. And wanted to remind the board and others that following the change made in fiscal year 26, the 27 budget continues to authorize non-operated funded capital improvement project funds to be used for 24 months instead of just the 12 months. This makes our budget consistent with the city's capital improvement program budget practices and will give us more time to obtain the permits and comply with numerous regulations before awarding construction projects, before moving from design to construction. We're currently resolving numerous delay claims that are a result of awarding construction contracts without having all the required permits in hand. Another benefit of this policy is it provides us the opportunity to use diversified financing options with lower interest rates, as Megan just talked about, like State Revolving Fund, Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act funds. For example, these programs require even more time-consuming compliance activities to satisfy the Build America, Buy America Act, and American Iron and Steel requirements, just for examples of additional compliance activities. But they also lessen the burden on our ratepayers. So we appreciate the board's support of this policy. And with that, hopefully you remember, Megan, I'm handing it back to you to talk about all those different funding sources.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. Okay, so this matrix shows the project categories and the sources of funding. The sources include the operating fund, funding through low interest loans from the Department of Health Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, or SRF, the Special Expendable Fund, which are collections of the water system facility charges that fund system expansion, and the Improvement or Bond Fund. We are focusing on a diversification of funds. So as Jennifer mentioned, the board actively seeks a variety of CIP funds through external funds and low interest loans to fund CIP to reduce the cost for taxpayers. Although not listed in this fiscal year, we are actively pursuing extramural or outside funding sources by agreement. As mentioned by Jennifer, we've applied for various grants, including the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, and if awarded, can reflect the funding through budget amendment. In fiscal 26, we budgeted 63 million in WIFIA, or Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act funds, for Kalailoa for the desalination facility. We're still working on executing this federally subsidized loan, but because the use of non-operating fund CIP was approved for 24 months, we did not need to rebudget this in FY27. We also budgeted 126.8 million in SRF to reflect the increased federal appropriation to this funding. Because of the bipartisan infrastructure law, or bill, we anticipate less funding to be available in future years as bill expires. Although federal funding, as Jennifer pointed out, like SRF and WIFIA, require more compliance with BABA, AIS, and other cultural and environmental regulations, we see the benefits because the loans are federally or state subsidized. A small portion of the SRF loans are also forgivable, so it can make the source of funding even more advantageous for the board. As noted earlier in the presentation, much of the CIP in FY27 is operating funded. The cost of borrowing and interest rates are relatively high, and because we have a healthy fund balance, we are funding about half of our CIP, or 121 million with the operating fund. This will also draw down the fund balance to reach the board's target of 60 to 100 days of working capital. The Special Expendable Fund, which are collections of the water system facility charges that fund system expansion, are mostly being used for the Kalailoa desalination project, and the Improvement or Bond funds are only being used this year to fund the contract adjustment account, which are for projects from prior years that require additional funding. So this slide summarizes the funding requested for fiscal year 27. The operating budget is 311.6 million, and the CIP budget totals 266.8 million funded by 121 million in operating funds, 126.8 million in SRF, 14.5 in Special X, and 4.6 in improvement funds. The total budget is 578.4 million. Our fiscal 27 budgets remain focused on our vision, Kavaiola. To ensure safe water, we will continue to comply with all drinking water regulations, including 2 major rule changes for PFAS and lead and copper. On top of our mandatory compliance, we are working to ensure that the Red Hill crisis does not impact our customers through continued testing and the development of water monitoring wells to characterize contamination within the aquifer. To ensure dependable water, we will continue our water master plan update started in fiscal year 26, which will help to guide implementation of high priority projects. To ensure affordable water, we will continue our strong financial management practices and exercise fiscal prudence. We also will continue to seek sources of funding from the federal and state government where available. And that's the end of the presentation. Thank you, and we are available for questions.
Thanks, Megan and Jennifer. And Chair, back to you.
Yeah, members, any questions?
Hey, thanks for the presentation. For the state revolving fund, the low interest rate, is that fixed or is it pegged to some benchmark?
I think it's pegged to something.
Oh, it's normally 1.5%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Thanks. Hard to beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good deal. Can I follow up on that question? I had an SRF question as well, Megan. Is there any indication as to what the reduction might be in coming offerings for SRF?
Not sure. Bill put a big influx of money in for the past 6 years. But with that expiration, I think money will still be going to the revolving fund, but not as much new money from the federal government will be coming in.
Is there a big surplus of dollars at the state that we were drawing upon, or did we max it out?
I don't think that there's like a lot of extra money. We can check with Department of Health, but yeah, it's not like, I don't think they're, yeah.
They're expecting a shortfall, is what I understand. I think
Okay.
I heard they're expecting a $550 million shortfall.
But that's for you mean the state government,
Yeah.
but the SRF is like a separate pot.
Yeah, but then I know they don't have any more money to give to the state revolving fund because of that.
So it's the capitalization grant that comes from the state and from the EPA. I just went to Congress for a conference in Washington, DC. And a lot of the states are very aware of the importance of the SRF program. Talking to our CODEL, our congressional delegation, they understand the importance of the SRF program. I think utilities in red and blue states understand it's important. So hopefully through the budgeting process, the money will continue to get restored to the SRF program. But there was concern about congressionally directed spending, how that takes away from the SRF program. But we pursue both. Yeah.
Also, Joy, can you note for the record, Vice Chair joined at 2:13, and John, can you just disclose your location and if anyone's in the room with you, please?
Hi everyone, sorry I joined a little bit late. I'm in my office alone. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thanks for joining. Other questions, members?
Yeah, for the Mike on pursuing other sources of revenue, you talked about like federal grants, it takes a while for them to get back. How big of a TAM, a potential like revenue source is that from like these grants and other programs?
So recently, with the new administration, there's not as many federal opportunities for grants, but we pursue them as we can. So I think
Less than 10%.
Of the CIP?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the current federal administration looks at to the states to fund more of their program that were previously funded by federal monies. But it still needs the support of the Congress to enact the budget. So we'll see what happens. we'll pursue wherever there are grant opportunities, and there are still some grant opportunities available in different programs. I know I had a meeting with the Bureau of Reclamation too when I was in DC, and they indicated that right now desalination projects are getting a lot of support.
Oh, great.
Especially for the state of Texas, because they're running out of water and they're looking to more desalination projects to help make up adjust their water needs. For now, like in the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, I think our desal project fits right in where their priorities currently. For our desalination project, we're getting about 19 million from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, federal grant funds from the USBR to help buy down the costs to our ratepayers for the desal project. And speaking also to the EPA, I had a chance to go to EPA headquarters and meet with the Office of Water. And it seemed like resiliency is a very important issue for them. So maybe there will be other opportunities for projects that increase our resiliency. They're very aware of our WIFIA loan that we have in progress right now with the EPA. And as soon as we clear some last few hurdles, they want to execute that loan with us. They also mentioned about perhaps other WIFIA loans on a much bundling a bunch of projects together and going out with a WIFIA loan. WIFIA loans are have to be at least $20 million or more. And our desal project gets, I think, varies $108 million is the size of our WIFIA loan. So I think we just need to continue to stay in touch with the EPA and other federal agencies and look for whatever opportunities may come our way. One of the challenges of federal funds is meeting the federal requirements, the Buy America, Build America requirements, American Iron and Steel, and NEPA and Section 106. But we're working to learn how to do that so that at some point in time when the federal dollars begin to flow again, we want to make sure we have projects that are able to capitalize on the opportunities that, who knows, maybe in the next 3 years from now, with the change of administration, there may be other opportunities to leverage federal dollars. We're kind of getting ready now.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are we looking to change the specs to see that and reflect that in the future?
Yeah, we're already doing that for certain projects that they're being built in there from even from the design stages.
Any mention in going back to the desalination plant or project that's going on in Texas, the fact that is there any mention saying of blue and red states and knowing that Texas is red and
no, it's they didn't that's to be acknowledged, of course. The current administration is a Republican administration, but I think it's learning how to work with whether it be a Republican or Democrat administration. And with the push toward desalination, because the state of Texas was mentioned as one of the big drivers for more funding for desalination. Less funding for renewable energy projects, of course, but other priorities are there.
good.
Yeah, Ernie, I'm glad to see that those generators are getting programmed to keep water pumping on the west side in case of a power shutoff. I know it's a lot of money to have that as standby backup, but I think it's an important facet of us being ready in case there are fires out there. I'm curious, Megan and staff, maybe you can talk a little bit about with the kind of uncertainty we've seen in recent months and years with trying to program and budget different projects, like what's the process that you go through to make sure that you're making your best guess into future programming of dollars and how large different projects can can grow in terms of what their budget might be? Is there a is it like a is there a formula, or how do you guys program that into the future? And I say this just because there's been so much uncertainty with material supply and with cost of energy, and I know that we've seen some bids come back that were above what you folks had internally budgeted. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you balance that out and how you project?
I'll take this one and Barry can correct me. It's sort of like we said, the 6-year CIP, they all sort of fit together. We have our vision, we have our mission. We're always working on, like, we're executing our FY26 budget right now. All hands on deck, getting that program on the ground while we're looking forward to FY27. So looking out 6 years, even the master plan looks out even further. That puts the projects on the radar. But then in any given year, and as we're out there working, things come up. So I guess this is my first year in experiencing this, but over the last 6 months or so, seeing a balance between, well, we planned on doing this in our long range plans, but this is what we can actually do. And then a project or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, I think this year, just came in and said, you're gonna have to do me next year. And they sort of, there is some areas in our budget that are, they're broad, where we can fit those kind of high priority projects that come up. We can fit into, we have some pipeline categories that we can fit pipeline projects. We have some pump station funding in there. So it's just balance of projects that come from out of nowhere that need attention right away. We start design as soon as we can so we can push them forward to the construction, but also the long range plan, as you mentioned, being resilient for the future. So it's a combination of all of that, I would say.
Yeah, just maybe to add, it begins, with the Water Master Plan, which is the effort last adopted by the board in 2016. We're doing a major update right now. In the next year or so, we'll bring the new Water Master Plan draft before the board for input. But it's a 30-year time planning horizon, so it looks out 30 years. And with that effort to identify the capital needs for the next 30 years. And from there, we kind of then hone in on the next 10-year period to define those projects with more clarity. And then the board just took an action at the last board meeting to adopt the 6-year capital program. And then now with the budgeting process that we're going through today, it's year 1 of the implementation of the program. So it begins at a broad, high level, identifying our needs, what our challenges are, and then going to 10 years, 6 years, and 1 year. And of course, through this process, what happens, things happen in life. We face different challenges, like what we saw with the Kona low storms, devastating rainfall and severe weather events, that we have to be able to adjust for those conditions. Or we might find certain pipelines that are made out of PVC are failing frequently and prematurely at maybe 10 years of age. So those are the ones that we have to now bite the bullet and actually replace those projects. So it becomes we refine as we go forward through this process, but it begins at a long-term look to the very near term. And that's the budgeting process that we're going through right now. Yeah, so that's kind of
Thank you. And maybe just a comment. I don't know that this comes in form of a question. I was at a community meeting last week, and it came out, and I don't know if this is true, but there were folks at it was an energy meeting, and they said that the Board of Water Supply was the second largest user of electricity on Oahu. And even if that's not true, I know that we use a lot of electricity to keep all those stations running. And we have seen in previous iterations these huge jumps in electricity costs when there were price shocks to the system and HECO raised rates. And because of the amount of energy we use, we see these huge jumps, right? And that was one of the reasons, if we go back to when we did the rate raise, it was to keep up with HECO. And they're signaling now with the Iran war sitting there that there's the potential for another jump. And so, I would I want to make sure that, you know, staff keeps an eye on that and you keep us abreast of that, because that's going to eat in right to those days of capital, that those working capital days that we have available. And I think, you know, Ernie, you hit it on the head, right? There's maybe not as much of a federal push right now for renewable energy projects as there were in previous iterations. But, you know, I would encourage staff to keep an eye out for that, because the the cost savings in having renewable energy power some of these sites where it makes sense long term is, I believe, is going to help us to just mitigate the cost to consumers as we go, and allow us to push that money that would have gone to, you know, buying basically oil from HECO into you know, more pipe in the ground and more CIP over time. So, you know, as a long range thing, I would invite you folks to think about that as we look at the different ways that we need to conserve energy to facilitate the kind of low cost that we've enjoyed for water for generations. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. A number of years ago, we did a energy savings performance contracting project, and we reduced our HECO power needs by about 9% through
Wow.
efficiency and renewable energy generation. So right now, at our facilities, including this facility here, we generate about 3 megawatts of renewable energy power. But in the future, there's always going to be another opportunity to look at greater efficiency. And what's become very evident with the, ever since the Lahaina fire and Hawaiian Electric shift toward public safety as their priority, and less a lower priority is reliability of electric power, that they're going to not automatically reset their system if there's a trip or fault. They'll do that only after they physically inspect the condition of their electrical infrastructure. And that's to save people, property, and lives. I understand why they're doing that, but it reduces the reliability of their power. And we saw during Konolo storm number 1, over 60 of our facilities, you know, losing power during that period of time. So for resiliency, I think what we need to do, and we're doing that, is how do we become less reliant on Hawaiian Electric power? It's hard to replace Hawaiian Electric power to pump water, and Chair, that's what the bulk of our bill is, to pump water from underground aquifers or pump water up the hill to where people live, from where water exists in the lower elevation systems. But we can start that process by making our control systems that we monitor and control our facilities remotely, make it independent of HECO power, going off renewables and batteries, so that we can understand what's happening to our system, even though HECO power might be out for a week or longer. And the gradual deployment of more generators at key locations in our system. Like I mentioned earlier, we have about 180 plus pumping stations, wells, and booster pump stations. So it's pretty hard to build generators at all 180 facilities. So we're looking at how do we prioritize to get the maximum benefit to our community, the maximum number of people and critical facilities that we can continue to serve with water, even without Hawaiian Electric power being present. But it is a gradual journey in this process. And we are looking at resiliency as the need for greater resiliency. And I just want to, one last plug here is, and Barry, is projections for El Nino this year. It's strong to very strong. And I remember back in 2015 or 2016, we had a hurricane in the Pacific, almost like every other week, a hurricane was coming across the Pacific. And at one time, I remember there was 3 Category 4 storms, hurricanes in the Pacific, the Eastern, Central, and Western Pacific at the same time. So this year is one of those years we're gonna have to watch very closely, Chair. So I think I'm digressing, but others.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. And just a huge congratulations to staff for the AAA rating. We so appreciate all of the diligence and the being fiscally conservative and just as accurate as you are and everything you're doing to make sure that we keep a AAA rating. It's a awesome thing to have in our pocket if we do choose to get bonds to facilitate some of these projects as well. So thank you.
For the, back to your question, Chair, about the electricity budget. So when we did the evaluation for last fiscal year, it looked like it was okay. What we budgeted was adequate to cover our electricity costs. But we do anticipate, given the Iranian war with Iran, that electricity costs are going to go up. So I think in our current FY 27 budget proposal, we're proposing how much more on the
A little under 7 million more.
no, about 7 million more. So what?
Have a power cost adjustment in
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, we do have the ability to adjust for power if HECO's, our electricity costs go really out of control. But we under my term as manager, I've never implemented that. If that becomes necessary, what I'm going to be looking at is first, let's look at where we can tighten our belt and prioritize our operating budget to see if we need to create more savings to pay for the electricity bill. That, and I think water conservation, that people use less. I just remind everybody, when you use less, we pay less in terms of power. And as we go into our hurricane season come June 1st, I ask everybody to be prepared. But we want to pump less and leave more in the underground resources for our future. Because the other thing El Niños can create, right, Barry, is drought. There could be extreme drought conditions. So we just have to be ready. Yeah. Thank you. And I do want to acknowledge everybody. The AAA rating is not a testament to the manager, but it's a testament to everybody in the department doing a hard work and working hard to convey to the bond rating companies the confidence that they have in giving us a AAA rating. So it's a testament to everybody here. Mahalo.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Members, do you have any other questions? Anything else about the budget? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn unless there are any other questions or testimony or any other information to be added.
Chair, I need a motion, please.
Should I say that one more time?
Can I please get a motion before you adjourn?
Yep. So, will someone make a motion to adjourn and will someone second it?
Chair, so moved. This is Gene.
Thank you, Gene. It's been moved.
Second.
Second.
Darian, I think.
Darian beat you to it, John. So it's been moved by Gene and seconded by Darian. Thank you guys so much. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. Vice Chair Jonathan Conachero,
Aye.
Board Member Jeff Lopola,
Aye.
Member Darian,
Aye.
Board Member Gino Bono,
Aye.
and Chair Nalehu Anthony.
Aye.
Chair, motion passes with 5 ayes.
Okay, thank you so much. This workshop is adjourned. I appreciate everyone's time and attention, and we'll see you later on in the month to take this up in regular session. Mahalo nui.